Bhagavate The reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 25th chapter, text 21, very famous verse. Tikshasva karunika Suridam sarvadehinam Ajata shatrava shanta Sadhava sadhu bhushana Tikshasva karunika Surida sarvadehinam Jata shatrava shanta Sadhava sadhu bhushana
Titikshava karunika Sukhirda sarvadehinam
Surida sarvadehinam
Ajata satrava shanta
Jata shatrava shanta
Sarva sarubhushana
Sadhu bhushana Nirikshasva karunika Subhida sarvadehinam Ajata shatrava shanta Sarva sadhu bhushana Karunika Subhida sarvadehinam Ajata shatrava shanta Sadhava sadhu bhushana. Oh, okay. Dikshasva, tolerant, Karunika, merciful, Surida, friendly, Sarvadehinam, to all living entities, Ajata Shatrava, inimical to none, Shanta, peaceful, Sadhava, abiding by scriptures, Sadhu Bhushana, adorned with sublime characteristics. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies, he is peaceful, he abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. Everyone can please repeat. The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful. He abides by the scriptures. And all his characteristics are sublime. Purport. A sadhu, as described above, is a devotee of the Lord. His concern, therefore, to enlighten people in devotional service of He knows that without devotional service to the Lord, human life is spoiled. A devotee travels all over the country, from door to door, preaching, be Krishna conscious, be a devotee of Lord Krishna. Don't spoil your life in simply fulfilling your animal propensities. Human life is meant for self-realization or Krishna consciousness. These are the preachings of a sadhu. He is not satisfied with his own liberation. He thinks about others. He is the most compassionate personality towards all the fallen conditioned souls. One of his qualifications, therefore, is karunika. great mercy to the fallen souls. While engaged in preaching work, he has to meet with so many opposing elements, and therefore the sadhu or devotee of the Lord has to be very tolerant. Someone may ill-treat him because the conditioned souls are not prepared to receive the transcendental knowledge of devotional service. They do not like it. That is their disease. The sadhu has the thankless task of impressing upon them the importance of devotional service. Sometimes devotees are personally attacked with violence. Lord Jesus Christ was crucified. Haridas Thakur was caned in 22 marketplaces, and Lord Chaitanya's principal assistant Nityananda was violently attacked by Jagai and Madai. But still, they were tolerant because their mission was to deliver the fallen conditioned souls. One of the qualifications of a sadhu is that he is very tolerant and merciful to all fallen souls. He is merciful because he is the well-wisher of all living entities. He is not only a well-wisher, sarvadehina, which indicates all living entities who have accepted material bodies. Not only does the human being have a material body, but other living entities such as cats and dogs also have material bodies. The devotee of the Lord is merciful to everyone, the cats, the dogs, the trees, etc. He treats all living entities in such a way that they can ultimately get salvation from this material entanglement. Shivananda is saying, one of the disciples of Lord Chaitanya gave liberation to a dog by treating the dog transcendentally. There are many instances where a dog got salvation by the association of a sadhu, benediction of sadhu, because a sadhu engages in the highest philanthropic activities for the benediction of the living entity. Yet, although a sadhu is not inimical towards anyone, the world is so ungrateful that even a sadhu has many enemies. What is the difference between an enemy and a friend? It is a difference in behavior. A sadhu behaves with all conditioned souls for their ultimate relief from material entanglement. Therefore, no one can be more friendly than a sadhu in relieving a conditioned soul. A sadhu is calm, and he quietly and peacefully follows the principles of scriptures. A sadhu means one who follows the principles of scripture and at the same time is a devotee of the Lord. One who actually follows the principles of scripture must be a devotee of God, because all the Shastras instruct us to obey the orders of the personality of Godhead. Sadhu therefore means a follower of the scriptural injunctions and a devotee of the Lord. All these characteristics are prominent in a devotee. A devotee develops all good qualities of the demigods, whereas a non-devotee, even though academically qualified, has no actual good qualifications or good characteristics according to the standard of transcendental realization. Om Gyan Timidamdasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Mustapita Yena Puktale Swayam Pakara Matyam Danati Swa Paratikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Bacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
The meeting that we had at 9:30, I told him 9:45 or 10.
Okay. So these are the qualities of a devotee. I always mention in relation to this verse that to have karuna, to have mercy, you have to have titiksha, you have to have tolerance. You can't be merciful to people unless you're tolerant, because as Srila Prabhupada emphasizes in his purport, people don't want to surrender to Krishna. Even devotees don't want to surrender to Krishna. They want a part of Krishna that is favorable for sense gratification. But the part of Krishna, just like Srila Prabhupada gives the example of it, Shastra gives the example of the chicken, but I prefer the cow, because we don't eat chickens or eggs. So nobody likes the front part of the cow because you have to feed it. But everybody likes the back part because you get milk. So in the same way, a sadhu has to tolerate so many things, because people, they want the kingdom of God without God. They want Ram Raj without Ram. So therefore, it's a very difficult situation for the sadhus, because they have to accept so much discomfort for the benefit of others. But just like a mother or a child, a father, you have a small child, 1 year old, 6 months old, all botheration, just crying, urinating and passing stool and everything, feeding all the time at 2 o'clock in the morning and 6 in the morning and 11 o'clock at night. So it's a botheration, but because love is there, then it becomes a pleasure. So also, diksha, tolerance. This is all in relation to sarvadehina. Sarvadehina means the embodied living entities, because the unembodied living entities, or the residents of Vaikuntha, they're not always so tolerant. Just like the residents of Goloka, the highest residents are the gopis, but they're not very tolerant with Krishna. Or at least the Brahman gopis, the gopis of Srimati Radharani, they don't tolerate Krishna. Radharani doesn't tolerate Krishna. She becomes angry. So this tolerance is exhibited in the material world. Of course, Radharani, she says, Ashishava paramatam vinastumam adarsanam marmahatam karotuva, that I can also tolerate. I can tolerate if you trample upon me, or I can tolerate if you embrace me. In tolerating embrace me, meaning that I have to tolerate the separation when I feel, because I know when you embrace me at night and a few hours later, I will have to tolerate separation. So, but tolerance toward conditioned souls, sarvadehina, those who are embodied, it has to be practically unlimited, because they don't want devotional service. Even those who declare they want devotional service, they want it to have certain characteristics and other things they don't want it to have. They want to follow, most devotees want to follow some modern interpretations of how things should be done, or gender equality, all these things. They want to do in their way, in a way totally based on the bodily concept of life. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada begins his purport by saying, they go door to door. Shuno Shuno Nityananda Shuno Harida Sarvatra Amar Agyaya Koroho Prakash. Oh, my dear Nityananda, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, my dear Nityananda, dear Haridas, take this order of mine and spread it everywhere. And what is that order? That the Hagari Gari Kiya, that you must go door to door, Koro e Bhiksha, and beg everyone, Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Krishna, Koro Krishna Shiksha, that ask everyone, please chant the holy name, please worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and please follow the instructions that Krishna is giving in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. This is what you have to do. And then he says again, Bhajo Krishna, Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Loho Krishna Nam. This time he says, chant the holy name of Krishna, worship Krishna by accepting his holy name. Otherwise, this is the main worship of Krishna. Because Krishna Mata, Krishna Pita, Krishna Dhanapran. Because Krishna is the mother of everyone, the father of everyone, and the greatest treasure of everyone's heart. Therefore, do this. Go out and declare Krishna consciousness. And then Srila Prabhupada goes into and sometimes it's risky. And he gives the example for the Western world, Jesus Christ, for the Eastern world, Haridas Thakur. So many soldiers, have given up their life for their country. So the fact that this this opportunity is there to simply become Krishna conscious without making such a great sacrifice, simply by chanting the holy name, is unlimited mercy given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Srila Prabhupada emphasizes one must be very tolerant, because not only do they not want Krishna consciousness, but they have very bad habits. Very bad habits. People are full of pride. Modern psychology encourages everyone to just be what you want to be. Do what you are the most important. Not that Krishna is the most important. According to this, every other living entity is more important than me. And according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Amanina, Manina, Manadena. I respect all living entities, and all the living entities, even the demons, are more important than me. What to speak of the devotees. So, and then Srila Prabhupada goes into even Lord Chaitanya's most dearest associate, Nityananda Prabhu, was attacked. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to kill Madai. But Jagai pleaded with him, please, he doesn't know. He didn't mean to do that. And because of his plea, Lord Chaitanya said, my dear Jagai and Madai, you are one soul within two bodies. And therefore, because half of you have begged for excuse, meaning Jagai, you have begged for excuse, for to be excused. Therefore, I excuse you if you never take up any of these bad habits again. Because Krishnadas Kaviraj, Vrindavan Thakur says that the one thing they had never done, they never offended a Vaishnava until they threw a stone at a clay pot, piece of clay pot at Nityananda. But they had never defended, they had never attacked a devotee. So the Lord accepted their plea for forgiveness, because titiksha. If the Lord is requesting us to be tolerant, then he must also show tolerance. If he's the fountainhead of everything, he has to be the fountainhead of tolerance. And therefore, when he's begged by his devotee, just like when Kali begged Parikshit Maharaj, don't kill me, don't attack me, don't punish me, you have to give me some place to live. I have these qualities. It's my duty. I have to perform my duty. I have to confuse everyone in Kali Yuga. So you have to give me some place to do it. So he sent him to Las Vegas, Monte Carlo, Las Vegas. Now practically everywhere in the world they're having gambling, legal gambling. So all of the Indian reservations in the U.S. Gambling, and so let me see. There's a couple more points here. So he says, even a devotee has to go through so much difficulty, they still want to be merciful to the living entities because they understand that Mamai Vamso Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. We are all part and parcel of Krishna. And therefore, because we are part and parcel of Krishna, we must be, a devotee must be friendly to every living entity. They must be, because they're all parts and parcels of Krishna. Although we don't establish direct friendship with demoniac people, only with devotees. And the innocent, we establish a merciful friendship. So, and then Srila Prabhupada makes the point about Sarvadehinam, not only means the human beings, but the cats and dogs. Just like when Krishna is doing Govardhan Leela, he says, even you must distribute prasadam to the cats and dogs. But there's only one person he leaves out, which is Indra. You can distribute to cats and dogs, but not to Indra. He doesn't deserve it. And so it was definitely a big insult for Indra. But anyway, so people have a tendency to be merciful to other people, and then they're killing so many animals. And therefore, when Srila Prabhupada gives the example of Shivananda Sain was the one dog started following Lord Chaitanya's. Shivananda was a little behind Lord Chaitanya. He was making arrangements for everyone, and sometimes he would go ahead, sometimes he would be behind. One dog started following him. And the dog, Shivananda would feed the dog every day. They came to a big river, and the guard at the river said, the dog cannot come on the boat unless somebody pays. So Shivananda paid for the dog. The dog got on the boat, went across the river, followed the devotees, and then one day, when everybody woke up, the dog was gone. Haribol, Hare Krishna. So Shivananda sent all the devotees out everywhere to look for the dog. Everybody was looking for the dog. Nobody could find it.
There's chairs in
And so then so everybody arrived at Jagannath Puri, and so Lord Chaitanya invited everyone to come and take prasadam. So everybody walked in, and they saw a long line where everybody sat down, and at the end of the line was the dog. And Lord Chaitanya took a piece of coconut and threw it to the dog. The dog caught the coconut, and his body fell on the ground, and a forearm, Vaikuntha form, came out and went back home, back to Godhead. So a devotee is merciful to everyone, not just, of course, sometimes devotees are not so friendly to dogs because they have the tendency to urinate on Tulsi. So, therefore, sometimes but lately, devotees have been more. When I first went to Vrindavan, no one would even get near a dog. Just raise their stick, and all the dogs were angry and growled at you. And now they give them all prasadam, and they come up and wag their tail. But I think it's a better policy than the stick. Give them prasadam, and they're friendly, because they used to bite like anything. So, Lord Chaitanya also, when he was a young boy, he and his friends found a batch of puppies, and they all said, "Let us all take a puppy." And Lord Chaitanya they said, "You pick the first one." He picked the most beautiful one. Then, "You always pick the best." "Well, you told me to go first." So he took his puppy home, and his mother said, "How have I raised you? You're supposed to be a Brahmin. Brahmins don't touch dogs." And, well, how can you be so ignorant as to the Brahminical principles? But Lord Chaitanya, he was just a little boy, and he started pouting. So Mother Shachi Devi said, "You just go take your bath. I will feed the dog." So he went happily to the river, although he knew what was going to happen. And she took the dog and let him go. And then when he came back, she said, "I don't know what happened. The dog ran away." No. And so Lord Chaitanya, he lamented a little bit, but then he forgot. But some days later, in the marketplace, the dog appeared. He was a little bit bigger now, grown up. And he walked into the middle of the market, stood up on his hind legs, and put his front legs in the air and started chanting Hare Krishna and Govinda, Govinda, Govinda. And then his body fell over, and a chariot came from Goloka Vrindavan and took him back home, back to Godhead. So, just for being touched by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So how much effort should we make to, free all the living entities from Maya? This is the consciousness that's being discussed here. And therefore, a devotee, as it says here, a devotee is not interested in their own salvation. Prahlad Maharaj said this. He said that Naitan Bihaya Kripana Vivamuksha Eko. He said that even though these living entities in the material world who are embodied are miserable and have all kinds of bad habits, Kripana there means very greedy, miserable people. Even though I cannot accept my own liberation, when they are left in this material world, because nanyad tarasya sharanam nanupasye, because without your mercy, what hope do they have? Therefore, I have to stay here and make sure they get your mercy. So this is the mood of Prahlad Maharaj. Tato shache bahirmukha indriya tam maya sukaya varamudvahato vimudhan. He said that I only have one lamentation, which is that the living entities have turned their back to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and pursuing the illusory happiness of this material world. They make so many plans for trying to be happy in material world and the material energy. So the devotees have so many wonderful characteristics. Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita the first one and most important one, Advaita Sarvabhutana, that a devotee is free from envy. A devotee sees everyone as Prabhu, and therefore there's no envy. There's envy when we think I'm Prabhu and the others are Das. But when we think I'm Das and everyone else is Prabhu, then life is very easy. But life is very difficult when I think I'm Prabhu and everyone else is Das. Let me figure out how everyone can appreciate me, can like me, can do something for me, can help me, can realize what a wonderful person I am, and can see all of my qualities and can see all of my abilities. This is all ahankara, false ego. And the way we get free from that is, as mentioned here, so much, almost 75% of the purport is about tolerance, mercy, and friendship. And then Srila Prabhupada mentions that ajatta shatrava, that a devotee, some people consider devotees to be enemies, but a devotee doesn't consider anyone to be an enemy. Krishna says that samaham sarvabhuteshu nami dveshtas priya striya priya, that no one is my friend, no one is my enemy. I am neutral, but ye bhajante tamam bhaktya. But if someone worships me, then maititeshu chapyam, then I am within them, they are within me. So it seems like Krishna is being partial, but he's not, because anyone can surrender to Krishna. So therefore, if someone surrenders to me, I will give them special attention. But because anyone can do that, although not many are so inclined, but anyone can surrender to Krishna, and therefore he is impartial, and therefore a devotee following Krishna is totally impartial. A devotee has no interest in anything other than pleasing the Supreme Personality of God. So, and the last point, which Srila Prabhupada makes here, that what is the difference between an enemy and a friend? A friend is one who wants to relieve one of material existence. Srila Prabhupada defines in the 12th Madhya Lila, the 12th chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, he defines jiva himsa, violence against a living entity, as not giving them Krishna consciousness. You have the opportunity to give them Krishna consciousness and you don't do it. That's considered to be violence. So, because Lord Chaitanya says, Jati Dakatari Kaha, Krishna Upadesh, wherever you go, whomever you meet, you should give them Krishna consciousness. So he says, this is friendship. And then as far as Ajata Shantaha, being very peaceful, the devotee is peaceful, and they follow the principles of Scripture. And at the same time, they're a devotee. So then, last point, Srila Prabhupada makes his Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam, that a devotee is always friendly to all living entities and is always decorated with the greatest ornaments. It says that a devotee is param bhushana bhushanangam, that a devotee decorates the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his glorification. So anyway, these are some points on this particular verse. That very beautiful verse, very instructive verse. It just goes in series from the most important thing to the more external things. First, you must be tolerant. Then you can be merciful. Then you can be friendly. You can't be friendly without being merciful, because otherwise people are very difficult to get along with. And so merciful, then Jatra Shatra, because you're merciful and friendly to everyone, you have no enemies. And then Sadhava, Satvata, then one is very peaceful. And then Sadhava, one is always follows the rules and regulations of devotional service and is decorated with all kinds of good qualities. And last point Srila Prabhupada makes, referring to Yashasti Bhaktir Bhagavat Yukinjana Savaya Gunais Tatra Samaste Sura, spoken by Rishabh Dev, that a devotee is always full of wonderful qualities, and therefore a devotee is always has the interest of the other living entities in mind, always is helpful, always is full of wonderful qualities. Harava bhaktasya kuto mahadguna. But whatever qualities that a materialistic person has, if they're not surrendered to Krishna, those qualities are simply become objects of pride, and a person will forget about the real purpose of life and just be proud of whatever they have, which is just their karma, and which will go away, and which will transform into another type of karma, and another type of karma, another birth, another body, good fortune, bad material fortune, and on, eternally. So these are some thoughts. This verse.
So, thankless task, like Prabhupada says in lectures and in the Bhagavatam, that even Maya Devi, the material nature, has the thankless task of checking the conditioned souls. It says Yamaraj has the thankless task. Then he also says that we should be unafraid of materialistic persons. And he says that we have the thankless task of giving Krishna consciousness or giving love of God to others. So what is that balance between being unafraid of material energy and carrying out that duty, that thankless task, but not getting caught up in the web? Sometimes we can be too tolerant or too compassionate to the wrong living entity that may take advantage of us, cheat us, or try to hurt us or harm us in such a way that we can't even practice, or we lose faith.
Here Srila Prabhupada says that will happen. Not that it may happen, it will happen.
I guess a gamble or risk. Is there any gamble or risk if we go too far to be compassionate?
No, there's no risk of being too compassionate, but there's a possibility of being foolishly merciful, meaning that you try to show mercy to people that is beyond your capability to have that degree of surrender. No, that doesn't mean one shouldn't do it. It just means that one has to keep working on oneself until one develops that ability to sacrifice more. Ultimately, as pure devotees, they only sacrifice. They don't try to enjoy anything or try to be even peaceful in this world. They're automatically peaceful because they follow the rules and regulations of devotional service. No, but we can't do that artificially, and therefore Srila Prabhupada said it's a gradual process, but not too gradual. No. Otherwise, the more we think about ourselves and how I can be peaceful, then it may interfere with distributing Krishna consciousness. So where is the balance? The balance is to be hearing and chanting, more hearing and chanting, more service in a surrendered mood, and then one is not disturbed by this world, because the world is going to be disturbing, and whatever we have to go through, we will have to go through it. So if you're disturbed by it, then you'll have to go through it again until you're not disturbed by it.
I've noticed that.
Yeah. because we have to come to that point, which Srila Prabhupada is describing here. And in Krishna Bhagavad Gita, Tukeshvanudvigna mana sukeshu vikatas priyaha. A devotee is never disturbed by any difficult circumstances and is never elated by materially favorable circumstances. That's just like a basic definition.
Compassion can come in many different forms, though. Like sometimes the spiritual master or the teacher can chastise the student or disciple in such a way that's compassion. Or sometimes people may come into the movement or come into Krishna consciousness and then leave for some time. And we understand that if we actually pursue them and try to comfort them, it actually does more damage and pushes them away further.
But it depends on what happens.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it may happen like that. So we just, say Hare Krishna, offer them a little prasadam and wait for them to, experience what they have to experience.
Don't rain on the menu all week.
It's raining, huh?
Yeah.
It's not supposed to rain. I think maybe the cold front came in a little early. There's a cold front coming in.
Let's go.
But I don't think it's supposed to last all day.
No, it should be done soon. Any other questions, comments? We have Sarva Tarak Prabhu, who's in outer space right now. He's got this really nice background. He's going to ask a question. He's from Baton Rouge Temple. He and his family manage a center there. Please, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble and respectful obeisances at your lotus feet. So Maharaj, as a Prabhupada follower, like Prabhupada went through so much severe austerity and obstacles, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates. But as insignificant soul like me, or some other devotees who are endeavoring preaching little bit, but we are very much comfortable zone. We didn't face any like the severe, problems. Just some people are ignoring, but still we are preaching, distributing books, giving prasadam, but physically we never get any assaults. So is it mercy of Srila Prabhupada, or still we have to, because we are not pure enough to get that kind of severe problems in our preaching activities?
Believe me, everyone will get that opportunity. You don't have to look for it. It will come in one way or another. Just like some devotees may have had to face physical difficulties, other devotees will have to face mental, psychological, emotional difficulties. So that's why in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Vishame samupastitam. When this moment of crisis arrives, you have to know how to act. Meaning that we will all have these moments of crisis. In Arjuna's case, it was the Battle of Kurukshetra. In someone else's case, it's trying to open a temple somewhere, and there's so many difficulties, so many obstacles, legal and otherwise. In somebody else's case, trying to simply control my mind so it doesn't bother me. So that crisis will come to everyone in a different way. And therefore, we should see what I'm doing right now in my Krishna consciousness as a preparation so that I can be in any circumstance and remain and maintain the same Krishna consciousness.
Yes, Maharaj, we are facing a lot of challenge, no doubt about it. Because Bhagavan Nath Prabhu knows, he gives class sometimes at our center by Zoom. And one time I visited his center. So I have very good friendship with him. And recently we bought one place for center very close to the LSU University. And Maharaj, lot of challenge. Sometimes I lost my enthusiasm, lose my, like I feel so lethargic, so feel so laziness. how I overcome this situation. So give your blessings.
Well, that's where I said, that's why Krishna says, Vishame samupastitam. We don't know, for one person's crisis may seem very easy for another person, but we have to realize that by our conditioned nature, even one little thing goes wrong in my day, and that for some people can be a total crisis, just one little thing, whereas we may be able to easily tolerate that. So, and that's what it means to be amanina, to see every living entity that they are having to go through, whatever type of material existence they're having to go through, it is difficult for them.
Maybe we can take one more question.
Yes, one more.
Anybody have one last question?
Thank you, Maharaj. You are invited in Baton Rouge. Please, I will ask through Bhagavan Narad Prabhu. If you can visit, we can arrange program at LH University and our members.
First, let me stop being the chairman of the GBC, then I can think about it.
There are a lot of responsibility, Maharaj.
We have time for one more question. If anybody has a short question they'd like to ask. If not, we'll close it and we'll be back this evening. Jagaranga has a question in person. Okay.
Maharaj, sometimes, especially during marathon time, we are going out for so many hours and we neglect the morning programs and sometimes even japa, just 10 rounds or 12. And we spend more times in the streets doing over distribution. Is that something good in the sense that it can affect us in the long term?
Well, it's definitely good if you distribute books. What may not be good is what, like Krishna says in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, too much of anything, too much eating, too much sleeping, too much recreation, too much book distribution, meaning if you physically or psychologically need some more nourishment other than the book distribution so that the book distribution becomes enhanced, like you need more time to hear and chant, need more time to do some deity service so that one's mind is more purified. So all these are, it's just like a diet. I always give the example. Vitamins are very good for you. You need them. But if you only eat vitamins, then you will get sick. So Sankirtan is wonderful for the false ego, for developing compassion. But if we try to do it artificially, too much, too much too soon, without taking care of our own spiritual sadhana, then it can become detrimental, even though it's one of the most wonderful things. So, Hare Krishna. Okay, so thank you all very much, those that are looking on. All glory to Srila Prabhupada, Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga Ki Jai.
His Holiness Guru Prasad Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. We'll be back on at 5 p.m. and I will upload this later today. Thank you. Hare Krishna.